and we are going to, thank you, Steve. We're going to recall to order of regular meeting. Jackie, can you please do a roll call?
Ariel Owens. Present. Christopher Boyce.
Here.
Casey Ramirez.
Present.
Jake Devino. Here. Amanda Harness. Andre Powell.
Here.
Steve Byers.
Here.
All right, so then the next thing that we're gonna do is public comment. Okay. All right, my internet's not working, so I'm gonna read it from here. Okay, yeah. Right here, okay, cool. All right, public comment. Members of the public who wish to speak to the board shall complete a request card prior to the start of the meeting. This section of the meeting will be reserved for comments from the public. All comments should be limited to 3 minutes. Criticism of individuals is not in order. Jackie, do we have, we do have any. All right, Mr. Dennis White?
Yep.
All right, I'm gonna ask if you could please come to the podium, just so that everyone at home can hear you.
Yep.
Thank you.
First of all, I want to thank you for allowing me to speak at you tonight. I apologize about having to send this. I tried to send an email and either my system don't like you guys or your system don't like me because it rejected it. So anyway, what I'm here about is some issues. I would not have been here otherwise because I got 2 grandkids that have recently moved up here. My daughter bought a house over in Cortland. We made the wrong assumption that if you buy a house in Cortland, you're gonna probably go to the Cortland Elementary School. That turned out not to be so. She's been working trying to get them placed. Today at 3 o'clock, my understanding is she was told they may be in Founders, not in Cortland, which was disappointing to us. And I wanted to express that when I found out, we were first told they may be bused to Malta. And I thought, they're gonna be living in Cortland, you're gonna bus them all the way over to the other side of the district. To me, that's not logical. Then are you gonna bus students in Malta over to Cortland? So it was kind of confusing. Having said that, hopefully we're getting this worked out. Hopefully we can get our grandkids enrolled. We were informed they probably won't start school on Thursday. You guys are backed up for whatever reason, even though my daughter started this process early July. One last thing that I want to touch on, because I know I've got a short time frame, is your supplies list for all your schools. I would have assumed that kids going to elementary school would kind of fall under one supply list. You got 8 different supply lists. One school requires 2 sets of headphones, one requires 1. One requires 48 pencils, one requires 72. It's kind of confusing why you can't have, these are elementary school, and you know, if they need 2 boxes of Kleenex and 48 pencils and other stuff, why? Because we made the mistake once again, went out and got all the stuff for Cortland. Oops, nope, got the wrong things. Now we gotta find different colored folders because we're gonna go someplace else now. So that was very confusing as well. This is my first exposure to the schools here. Me and my wife moved here about 5 years ago to retire to be closer to her grandkids. And then my daughter went through some issues and she's moving up here. Otherwise, you guys would have probably never seen me. But trying to get our kids in school has been, in our opinion, a literal nightmare. So I don't know, I'm willing to try and help work on this if you're looking for volunteers, because I think this process could be improved greatly. So anyway, thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. White. Thank you. All right, so now we're moving on to board correspondence. Do we have any board correspondence?
Yeah, I'd like to talk for a minute if I could. Daisy and I went to the opening kickoff, is what I guess I'll call it, today at the high school at DHS. I found it to be a really great opening start. I know I've been to 7 of them. This would be my 8th one here in district, and it was full of energy. Somebody got Cindy Lofthouse, the legend, to come out and do her One Barb stuff, and really just, I guess, wanted to say thank you to everybody who put that together. I'm sure the staff were energized for all their meetings afterwards, but at least they got a good start to the day. I thought it was really great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else?
I can go. So last meeting, we recognized Chance, our student board member. And so now we have to think about who the next student board member will be. Mrs. Larson, with the recommendations from other DHS staff, gave me names of 6 students. So I just wanted to ask the board, are y'all okay with me contacting the students and setting up an interview? Or I could contact them and encourage them to fill out an application. The first time we did the process, we did have everyone do applications, but this time around, since the students were specifically recommended by Mrs. Larson and other staff, I thought we could perhaps just interview them and get the process going sooner. But of course, I wanted to see what you all thought before I did that.
Do you think that having questions for the application can allow them or help them prepare like what we will be kind of asking during an interview? Or give us a better perspective of, why they're interested in that position? Do you think that might help, or
Yeah, I don't
just
think it could hurt.
by having them fill out an application?
Or you can even provide them with some of the interview questions beforehand and
That works
they
too.
could do an interview but have some idea what's coming.
I mean, I'm okay with either or. I think one of the things that I was just thinking about is the fact that we are going through the process of branding. And one of the things that I've noticed is that we have actively used like the Google Forms to, now in order for us to sign up for committees or anything like that, we have created those forms. So there's a little bit of more consistency with that. So I was just thinking about that, but I'm okay with doing that as well since it's for students, so.
So what if I contacted them and just said they've been recommended, if you're interested, please fill out this form, like so collecting a little information and give them a heads up?
Sounds good.
Do you all have any comments, Vanta, Nadra?
And then, great, thank you. I don't know if y'all wanted to do this now, but we could pick a time to interview them. I know last time around, I wasn't able to come to the interview, but I believe we had blocked off like a Friday afternoon and did them all at once. So,
How soon are you trying to get that scheduled, or get the board members sworn, or the student board member in? By September?
yeah, I know it's a tight turnaround, but
All right, I know that with school starting, there are a lot of events going on after school and things like that, especially like, I believe it's next Friday, no, is it next Friday?
25th.
The football game, DeKalb versus Sycamore, I think it's that day, and then the high school's also having like a welcome back bash. So there are a lot of activities going on, so we may wanna steer away from possibly a Friday and maybe look at other dates
we
based
could
on the
also
schedule.
do it later. To be honest, we were hoping to have someone already, so since we're already behind, it doesn't really matter too much, so. We could do a day that's not Friday before,
Is there
or
a
a
date that
Friday
works,
later.
that works best for everyone with everyone's schedule?
I can be flexible.
I like days that aren't Mondays, pretty much.
So maybe looking at a Wednesday? Do you wanna look at a Wednesday now possibly to consider? Ari, I don't wanna put you, obviously with the school year, going on, are you thinking maybe within a week or two?
Oh,
To give
no.
them enough time to,
I wasn't thinking that soon.
okay, so you're thinking maybe September?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, alright,
I
so,
mean, it's ideal that most of the board be there, but I know I wouldn't be able to be there in the next week or two with higher ed stuff right now.
Okay.
'Cause you know.
yes, I know. So we're looking at September, our next board meeting would be the second,
Fifth.
the second The what you said, Jackie?
The 5th and 19th.
The 5th and 19th. So what about September 6th? The day after?
Yeah.
So we get it out the way the week of board meetings. September 6th?
Works for me.
What about for you, Vanta and Andre?
Works for me.
Okay, so September 6th, and maybe depending on, do you wanna schedule maybe a 5 o'clock, would that work, or what are you thinking, Ari? 5 o'clock?
Would you be interested in doing it at the high school?
Yes.
That way it's easier for the students to get there?
Good idea.
So Jackie, can
So we'll
we?
need to make sure they have a space
Oh,
because we have to reserve space. So let's do tentative based on space at DHS.
okay. So so we're okay with moving forward with September 6th and possibly for those interviews, assuming that the students are able to make it. I think we can do it as a start time at 5 o'clock, and based on how many students or how much interest we gain from the students and how many actually go forward with the application, we can then determine, how much time we actually allocate towards the actual interview hours. So 5 o'clock starting time right now.
That sounds good.
Sounds good.
Awesome, so.
Bring
All right.
snacks.
Bring snacks. No problem. All right, so, since our last, board meeting, I also attended the leadership conference that was hosted last week. Thank you for inviting me to that. It was definitely great. It was very informative, and I was excited to hear that some of the things that were used at the workshop were used at the high school for freshman orientation. My daughter actually was super excited that they played that, one of the icebreakers. So it's pretty awesome to see that, that a lot of the stuff that is happening within these leadership conferences are actually being taken back to the classroom spaces, or, we're using them with the students, so thank you for that. I attended, like you said, the welcome today, and then a whole bunch of other meetings, but nonetheless, I was happy to be there today. I just wanna say again, happy first day to everyone, and of course, we're hopeful for a great year, and we know that, we have a lot of exciting things happening right now moving forward, so we're excited for that. So thank you for that, and thank you for having us there today. So with that said, nothing else, though? Of course, I want to also openly congratulate again our new board member, Mr. Andre Powell, who is our newest board member that was actually sworn in earlier today. So congratulations to you again, and thank you for, of course, applying and now joining us. We're excited to have you with us.
Excited to be here, thanks.
So thank you. All right, so moving forward, let me see, all right, so consent agenda. So let me see. It is recommended that the Board of Education approve the consent agenda items A through F as attached. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call, Jackie?
Andre Powell,
Yes.
Steve Byers,
Yes.
Ariel Owens,
Yes.
Christopher Boyes,
Yes.
Casey Ramirez,
Yes.
Vanta Bynum.
Yes.
Thank you. All right, for future elementary school business, do we have any updates? It does not look like we have any updates, so we will move on to new business.
Old business.
I was like,
Old business, I apologize. Look at me trying to rush through a whole meeting. Ooh. I apologize. I'm like, let's go home. I'm playing. All right, old business, item A. It is an action item. It is recommended that the Board of Education approve the intergovernmental agreement between the City of DeKalb and the DeKalb Community Unit School District 428. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
second.
Roll call?
Steve Byers,
Yes.
Ariel Owens,
Yes.
Christopher Boyes,
Yes.
Casey Ramirez,
Yes.
Vanta Bynum,
Yes.
Andre Powell.
Yes.
All right, item B, it is an action item as well. It is recommended that the Board of Education approve the programs, courses, and CWC courses as recommended by the Professional Relations Committee. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call?
Christopher Boyes,
Yes.
Casey Ramirez,
Yes.
Vanta Bynum,
Yes.
Andre Powell,
Yes.
Steve Byers,
Yes.
Ariel Owens.
Yes.
All right, item C, it is also an action item. It is recommended that the Board of Education approve the updated D428 Code of Professional Conduct. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call?
Steve Byers,
Yes.
Ariel Owens,
Yes.
Christopher Boyce,
Yes.
Stacy Ramirez,
Yes.
Santa Bynum,
Yes.
Andre Paul.
Yes.
Item D, action item, it is recommended that the Board of Education approve the attached MOU with Family Service Agency. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call?
Stacy Ramirez,
Yes.
Santa Bynum,
Yes.
Andre Paul,
Yes.
Steve Byers,
Yes.
Ariel Owens,
Yes.
Christopher Boyce.
Yes.
Thank you. Item E, is an action item. It is recommended that the Board of Education approve the service contract with the Menta Group for the 23-24 school year. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call?
Santa Bynum,
Yes.
Andre Paul,
Yes.
Steve Byers,
Yes.
Ariel Owens,
Yes.
Christopher Boyce,
Yes.
Stacy Ramirez.
Yes. Item F, is an action item. It is recommended that the Board of Education approve the administration to bid waste and recycling services for the district. Is there a motion?
So moved. Second.
Roll call?
Andre Paul,
Yes.
Steve Byers,
Yes.
Ariel Owens,
Yes.
Christopher Boyce,
Yes.
Stacy Ramirez,
Yes.
Santa Bynum.
Yes.
All right, and item G is an action item. It is recommended that the Board of Education approve hourly part-time staff members to support fine arts events. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Roll call? Oh, second, who's second?
Second?
Second. I looked at you, you're like,
Gave everybody time.
Everybody was nervous.
Eat coffee.
Ooh, you got that, Jackie?
Andre
Started
Paul,
our day at
Yes.
7:00 in the morning.
Steve Byers,
Yes.
Ariel Owens,
Yes.
Christopher Boyce,
Yes.
Stacy Ramirez,
Yes.
Santa Bynum.
Yes.
All right, thank you, Jackie. All right, now, item 8, which is future elementary school business. Do we have any updates, Dr. Garcia Sanchez? No?
There are no current
No,
updates.
okay, awesome. Now we are moving to new business. All right, item A, approve fiscal year 2023-2024 tentative budget and set public hearing for 9/19. Mr. Amir Dorga.
Alright, so it's time for the budget and thank you. Today we're just gonna approve the tentative budget. It gives a little bit detail of what we'll be looking for. We have about 30 days where there is a public inspection. We are scheduling a announcement to publish in the Daily Chronicles for tomorrow, and it is open to the public to inspect, ask questions, and then there is a public hearing on the September 19th, at which time we bring it to a board for adoption. So this budget is simply a tentative at this point, but the actual budget will be adopted on the 30th. So the reason for that is a lot of numbers are coming in and costing them out and looking for student enrollment, how many students are being transported. So that's why we kind of need a little bit more time to actually give the official budget for the year. Okay. There we go. Thank you. Okay, cool. So what is a budget? All right, so a budget is just a financial plan. Plans can change, and we always look for the budget as more of a giving some type of monitoring for expenses. So schools, departments, they kind of know what parameters they can work on and expenses. That kind of keeps us kind of a tight hold a little bit on expenses so they don't get out of control. So this budget is more of giving that estimation of what we are expecting to expense, and then of course any revenues that we have projected for. So what is a budget? It's simply a financial plan. It's kind of a tool for projections, planning, and an estimation. And we do monitor it throughout the year, and we've seen that a lot of our departments do keep to it, and then when they don't, we kind of let them know or have them move around budget lines. So that is one thing that it's part of our process. One thing we have to understand is what our budget is kind of unique from other districts. So we have a modified accrual basis, right? So there is, in accounting, there is cash versus accrual. We do a modified accrual. Basically what that means is we record revenues when received, and the expenses, we record them when they're paid. So that's kind of However, there's three distinctions that is kind of a hybrid with the way we do our budget, is that we have a 2 months period of closing in any type of expenses or revenues that belong to that time period. So that's kind of the biggest distinction. The biggest one is our property taxes. When we levy for property taxes in December, it's actually for the school year that starts in July 1. So the distribution that comes to us from the county is in May and June. Well, that's not for that school year, so we don't recognize it and we push it forward to July 1, which coincides with the new school year, 23-24 in this case. So that's how this modified accrual basis work. We recognize it at the time period it belongs to. Another one.
Sorry to interrupt, this question just appeared to me while you're talking about this. So if it gets paid in May and June and we're not using it until July, are we putting this in an interest-bearing account and making money off of this money before we use it?
Yes. But the idea of this budget is that we are actually recognizing the amounts that are supposed to be paying or used for that school year. So a lot of districts and even neighboring districts, what they do is a cash basis, which is I got it in May, I can use it in May. We don't do that, we push it to July because it belongs to July. Another big one is our salaries for like teachers, assistants. We do cost it, annualize it in the 24 pay period. So even though they're not working in the summer, they do get a paycheck. So we just stretch that their salaries in 24 pay periods. So the summer, even though our school year ends in June 30, we actually pay them throughout the summer, even though it belongs to the year of 23. So you can see how we recognize it on the right timeline. And the third one is about invoices. A lot of invoices, we get it in, let's say, May or June, but gets paid because we have a 60-day payment period. We get paid in, let's say, in July. We go back and recognize it in June 30. So that's how our budget works, because we put it in the appropriate time it belongs. All right. So one thing to recognize, and we used to always talk about these categoricals for state payments. We used to have issues with the state paying us back the vouchers or reimbursements. So really, back, I would say like even 4 years ago, we were waiting for like $4 million from the state. But right now we're paying on time. So sometimes it's not even worth mentioning, but our vouchers waiting to be processed by the state, it's about 30,000. This is really a big change with the state, that is paying on time, paying us. They created a new funding formula, which is very favorable to us, and they are paying on time. So this is kind of big. So let's go back to budgets and let's talk about some big ticket items. Evidence-based funding, this is a new funding formula. This is kind of, it's big for us, and I'm gonna show a little bit of historical perspective, but basically last year we got about 44 million. Out of it, there was a provision where we can give taxpayers relief of about 6 million. So out of that 44 million, 6 million went in to provide taxpayers relief in form of an abatement. So we did not collect that from taxpayers. Out of that, the state actually paid us 5.7 million, and for us, we paid the rest, about whatever the difference is in there would be like 300,000. So the same thing for FY24. We got the numbers August 10th, so this is very new. We didn't project the amount until August 10th when we got the numbers from it. So we have an EBF distribution of about 51 million. And what does that mean? Out of that 51 million, 6 million will go to a tax abatement, a tax relief. We're doing that for the 2023 tax year, so it will be coming in December when we submit the tax levy. But one thing to note in here, if you notice, we jumped from 44 million to 51 million. Well, that's that 6 million of tax relief that we're getting this year too. So that's kind of the difference there. Big thing here is that we moved tiers. Tiers is additional money we get every year. That's kind of important to us because that shows how much we can expect to be included as part of our hold harmless provision that is called. This is a base for us to know what will be the next year, because every money that we receive this year will become a base for next year plus a tier funding. For us, maybe I can show it in the historical to give that perspective. If you, back in 2017, this new funding formula came in, and it really touched upon many type of factors and giving a more boost to those districts that were financially inadequate based on a 100% role model target. So if you look at it, back in 2017, we were at 58% financial adequacy by the state. So we weren't getting paid by the state as much, and we are part of a tier 1, which is the biggest bucket of funding we can take. And from then on, we were at 22 million. Go all the way to this year, we're at 51 million. So you can see the big amount of money that the state is kind of paying us. It's paying us on time, it's paying us what they promised, and giving us tax relief money. So the state evidence-based funding has been very beneficial for the district. However, this year is kind of a big jump. We moved to tier 2. So good news, we're 81% adequate. Bad news is we may not get part of the big bucket of tiers that we call it. So the bigger the tier 1 has the biggest bucket of money, tier 2 a little bit less, and then 3 and 4 is just much considerably less, right? So we used to get 1.4 million last year. This year, just 500,000.
Now, part of the, and correct me if I'm wrong, but part of the jumping from the tiers is because our EAV went up, which mathematically would also mean we are making up some portion of that lost funding through Meta, Kraft Heinz now paying those additional property taxes.
So, that's not the full story, because if you look at it, we started at 22 million, now we're at 51. So right there, the state has been funding us about 30 million in a matter of 5 years. So, and the Kraft and Heinz have not been entered into our EAV yet, so we're not gonna be seeing that until. So it's very difficult to kind of quantify it, but it is something that, it is part of one of the factors, but there's many other factors in there.
Moving from tier 1 to tier 2 also means that we're serving a different population of student based on the funding that their annual income, family income that they're showing, that their family is showing, I should say. So then that means that it's less funding for us long term. So moving, it's a good thing, and it's that for our kids, because obviously, and there's progress, right, in where we are at, but then financially, we are taking a hit.
I guess what I'm more asking though is, if annual household income is up, if EAV is up, that indicates that the local property taxes we're able to collect are also going up with it. Because if you have higher incomes, you have higher property values. If you have large businesses, I mean, just Meta alone is paying $3 million even with the 50% tax abatement for some of their disbursements to the county, which means we getting, I think, 41% of the entire levy within this taxing body here, we should be seeing that increased money from Meta to make up for the $850,000 that we lost, correct?
It's one part, it's a piece of the data, because moving from 22 million state funding to 50, that's a 30 million jump that we didn't see it in property taxes. So a lot of our reserves have been coming in from the new state funding. So it is piece of that puzzle, but there is way more factors involved in that as well.
Also, that 51 million also includes the ESSER funds, which are, it does, right, does it? Or it does
These
not?
are state funding.
Just state funds,
These are
okay.
state, that's federal, yeah. But basically here, so one thing that I wanted to bring is when you move to this tier 2, we will see in December if we still get that property tax relief grant. The property tax relief grant is a provision from the state that gives about 50 million for every district. We used to get like 5.7 of that, so about 10% would come to us from the whole state. However, moving to this new bucket, it kind of does not give us that. We'll see. We'll see in December based on their calculations, but normally they do take. It comes from the tier 1 funds, but I'm hopeful, and I hope we do get it. But as moving to this tier 2, our chances getting a little bit smaller. Let's see if I can move forward. Here's a good snapshot of how helpful this property tax relief grant has helped us. Almost every year in 2019, 2020 levy year, 21 levy year, 22 levy year, and even now in this levy year, we've been using the tax relief grants from the state to abate taxpayers' money. And this is totaling at about 33 million in just a period of 4 years. So again, the EBF has been very favorable to us, and the community to use this has allowed us to get these abatements and kind of help soften a little bit the taxpayers' portion of payment, property taxpayers. We will, so one thing to note here, we are still scheduled to abate in 2023 levies, so in December for the following year, about 6 million, and this is getting paid from the state. All right, moving. All right, well, let's talk about our revenues for the budget. The three sources of revenue that we get is from the local, state, and federal levels. So you can see that each education fund, each fund in here has either one source of local, one source of state, and then one source of federal fund sources. Other funds may not get a federal sources. Most of the federal sources will come from Fund 10 or Fund 20, which would be our ed and operations, and the rest either are getting paid from the local funds, which would be your property taxpayers, or the state funds, which would be EBF. So you can see the breakdown in there. A pie chart kind of gives a better indication here. This is the first time that for our district, and I would say at least for the past 5 years, but this is the first time we've seen that the local sources only make up about less than half of our revenue. For the most part, they've been kind of being more than half of our sources coming in from property taxpayers. And this is the first time I've seen that the state and the federal is actually paying for it. So that's where the state is your EBF. There's a corporate property CPPRT that we call it. These are corporate taxes that the state collects and then distributes back to local governments, so such as the schools. These are grants, transportation claim, and of course the EBF. Now the federal, if you see, this is kind of a high number here, 50 million, that's that ESSER grant. So this is where we have 6 million in there. ESSER grant does end this year. So you will hear a lot of school districts talk about the financial cliff, because we're kind of used to getting these past 3 years from the COVID-19, we're getting a lot of relief. But with that 50 million, we may not see it next year, because that 6 million, we have to spend it this year, and we're gonna be losing it. So that pie chart might look much different next year. All right, cool. Moving on to expenditures. Expenditures for ISB are broken down by salaries, benefits, purchase services, supplies, materials, capital outlay, and other. Always pay attention to that education fund. That's where the salaries for teachers, any classroom related support or direct support comes from that education fund. And of course, operations would be like maintenance, facilities, and so forth. So you can see the breakdown here. And if you're a numbers person, you'll like the table, but for most people, they would rather see the visual. Over here, you'll see the salaries broken down and the benefits. Together, they make up about 65% of our expenses, which kind of makes sense. Salaries are the biggest part of our expenses. Other than that, there is the purchase services. These are contractual services. You have materials. Capital outlay, that's construction, that's renovations. That could even be equipment that is over 5,000. And the other includes tuition. Most of this tuition is normally the special ed and tuition programs or outplacements. All right, the next page is kind of, I kind of like this one because it gives a kind of a nice snapshot of what's going on. Budgets will give you the story of where the district and what projects the district will be doing. If you look at it, we have Capital Projects Fund. That's where our new school financing is coming for. So you'll see that money in there. You will see the working cash fund, that includes our property tax relief grant. So this is kind of a nice snapshot of where we're looking at, but remember, it's ed fund that is really the classroom support and direct support comes from. Let's see.
Question.
Yes, go ahead. Yes, go ahead.
So based on the two pie charts, we've got 137 coming in, we've got 132 going out. So what happens with that other $5 million difference that we have? Are we just putting that in a bank account or?
So the 137, that's these are the operating budgets, and if you look over here, it's where you see kind of the apple to apple. So really, one thing is the transportation fund. We always throughout the year we allocate about 8.2 million for it because we don't know how many people are signing up for transportation. When I come in September 19, coming up with the new numbers, we will get the real people signing up and we will cost it out, and I believe it's going to be much less, but that is something. So we're looking at about 4 million in operating funds as a deficit. But again, this is with the projections of enrollment numbers and signups and so forth. So if there is any of the type of fund balance, does go through a PMA, which is a state from ISB, state legislation, who is strictly for school districts. They invest all our reserves, and they are restricted on what investments to provide. And there are many layers of looking into it. They only go through treasuries or something that we call term series. So definitely very safe, but it's something that is set by the state. So all of our reserves go through that, and we do have locked it into about like the very 5% interest, and we're looking that the interest income that we get from that goes to our operations.
And so is it possible that the board could say, we have $5 million extra dollars, we should throw that at the $33.8 million loan that we're about to get instead of paying interest on all of that for the next 20 years?
That goes into operations a little bit, but we can discuss that at some other time. But yeah, that is something we can talk. Okay. Any questions on this? Because this is pretty much the budgets. Chris, so in the FFC meeting, we will bring a bond advisor that is coming in tomorrow. That's where the financing options, she talks to us about the bond market rates. And one thing that is definitely something we can discuss, like what would be the ramifications of putting that 5 million? Will it help paying us principal and so forth? Because financing is up to 20 years. So it may be that 5 million will be just a $10,000 or less than we will be paying. So we can discuss that in the FFC meeting. Good point, thank you. So that was our budget. So what do we consider whenever we do budgets? The big thing is our financing, so that's something Chris brought up. We do have about 33.8 million that we will be looking to finance. Construction is beginning in April, and our construction manager has already costed out that we'll be spending about 3.8 million on renovations just in this fiscal year. And then our architect also provided his fees, and I got it in on Tuesday, so I wasn't able to incorporate it here, but it will be in the budget adoption in September 19. Other things that we look at is other facility needs. So yes, we do have a new school, but we're also moving. We have other 12 schools 12 sites that we need to look into. Any funding that right now we're using ESSER, any classroom staffing, and other considerations such as EBF, kind of we're using the funding with that. And the last two are kind of important, but we haven't heard much from it, is that if there is a property tax freeze or any TRS pension moving to us as a responsibility. I would like to give some perspective on our taxpayers' relief. So the property tax abatement that we've done, I kind of went through this, so I'm not gonna go through it again, but that is something that there are many layers of property taxpayer relief that we provide. One of them is what the state is giving us. The other one is also a bond restructuring. So that is something that when we look at financing, and we're gonna discuss this in tomorrow's meeting, is this, we did a multi-year bond restructuring. This is for the referendum to build a high school, renovate Huntley, renovate Founders and Cortland. So all of these bonds, we were able to restructure it so that it can soften the payments to property taxpayers. We have done this by doing a $3 million payment of principals, so that's one thing that you were discussing, and another $10 million paying it out of our reserves. So this helped an average property taxpayer with a $150,000 house to pay from $601 to $350 down, so $250 less per year. Another big layer of taxpayer relief we have provided is a permanent reduction. This happened back in 2020, where the board chose not to increase a tax levy by 2.3%. This has affected us every year. We have had a permanent abatement to taxpayers, but also a permanent reduction to our revenues. Every year we'll never be able to recover this, and it tags on a CPI to it. So this year will be affecting the tax year 23 with about 1.3 million. And any questions on this? On the budget? We're looking for approval.
I see that. All right, so because of timing, this is an information and action item, okay. This, Jackie, do we have to motion it to make it an information and action? Okay, so.
No, you don't have to.
No,
You don't have to.
we just have to,
Because it says it already, so you
Yes.
just have to read the motion.
okay, awesome. All right, it is recommended that the Board of Education approve the fiscal year 2023-2024 tentative budget for public display in anticipation of adoption on September 19, 2023. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second. Roll call.
Ariel Owens.
Yes.
Christopher Boyce.
Yes.
Stacy Ramirez.
Yes.
Santa Bynum. Andre Powell.
Yes.
Steve Byers.
Yes.
All right, thank you. All right, what you're saying there. Item B, agreement with Aurora University to host MSW interns, Mr. Kyle Curtis and Mr. Amir Doka.
Yeah, the Aurora University would like to extend their internship with social workers, and actually a teacher from the high school wanted them to start the first day of school. That's why we're coming in to extend this agreement. It's a previous agreement, we're just looking for an extension. We needed to get it approved on this board meetings because of liability with the Aurora University cannot kick in until we get this agreement approved. So we're bringing in as an action approval item.
Okay. Good with that, okay. It is recommended that the Board of Education approve the agreement with Aurora University to host Master of Social Work interns in the DeKalb School District. Is there a motion?
I have questions.
Oh, do you have, oh, I apologize, go ahead.
It's free. It's free. It's free. It's free.
I have no more questions.
Ooh, okay, all right, is there a motion? Is there any other questions, I should say? No? All right, is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Oh,
Who's second?
Roll call.
Christopher Boyce.
Yes.
Stacy Ramirez.
Yes.
Santa Bynum.
Yes.
Andre Powell.
Yes.
Steve Byers.
Yes.
Ariel Owens.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, item C, ISBE, ISU, NIU Memorandum of Understanding for Tutoring 2023-2024. Ms. Deetra Salas, Ms. Sarah Montgomery, and Mr. Billy Wareham.
So we're gonna front load this one by saying this one's free too. So hopefully there's no questions either. So all we're doing is extending our MOU that we had last year with the partnership with ISBE, ISU, and NIU for tutoring for our secondary and elementary students. We've extended a couple elementaries because we've seen success, so I think Jefferson now is joining as well this school year, but yeah, so that's what we're hoping to do.
Our legal counsel has vetted this, they've seen it and made some recommended changes. Our legal counsel has vetted this, they've made some recommended changes, went back to the partners, they've agreed to those changes, so it has been vetted.
And this is just information, right?
Correct.
Alright, consensus to bring us back?
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you. Alright, Sarah stay. Alright, item D, MOU Network for College Success, U Chicago, Freshman on Track PD. Sarah, right?
Thank you. Tonight I'm bringing forward information about our continued partnership with the Network for College Success, which is a partnership with the University of Chicago. Last year, we had a needs assessment conducted by the University of Chicago through this network, where they looked at our systems and structures and what we have in place, what we may need to further hone and put into place for our Freshman on Track, which is aligned to the high school improvement plan and our district strategic plan. Then this summer, we also sent a team of district level administration, high school administration and teachers to professional development and Freshman on Track data PLCs aligned also to this work that will continue in October as well. And this is bringing in coaches to support this work throughout this year. So it'll be embedded series of meetings, professional development, looking at our systems and structures and how we communicate to further support our Freshman on Track goals.
This is also fully funded through ESSER funds.
Title,
right?
yes, fully funded through grants.
Awesome. Consensus to bring this back?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Alright, item E, temporary facilities permit, Lincoln, Jefferson, Little John, Brooks, and Cortland. Ms. Tammy Carson.
Each year, we are required to have our architect inspect all of our temporary facilities. We currently have the 5 that are listed there. Our architect did do the inspection and has the paperwork ready to get our permits. And there was one item that was noted that needed to be repaired, it's more cosmetic, so we'll be able to get that done without any problems.
This is information. Consensus to bring this back?
Yes.
Thank you. And you are in the next one as well. Item F, request to bid summer projects 2024.
So at this time, this comes with no commitment for money attached, but it is something that we are asking to be able to request to bid our summer projects for 2024. This is just a request at this point to be able to go out to bid to see where the funding, where we want to allocate our funding for summer 24. I know we are just at the point that we're barely finishing up 23, but we are still seeing supply and equipment delays in our projects. Everybody's still blaming it on the pandemic, but because of that, we're trying to get our projects out even sooner. When I started like 15 years ago, we were putting these out in like December, January, asking you to bid, and now we're doing this now so that we can get our projects out on the street sooner rather than later. The projects that are listed here, some of these are on our rotation when it comes to seal coating and concrete repairs. We are looking to replace the parking lot at the Ed Center. We did Malta this year, and our Ed Center is the next one that needs to be done. You've noticed there's significant damage out of the parking lot that we've been patching, but it's time to get it replaced. We're also looking to rotate and make sure that we are improving on our toilet rooms across the district. This year we were fortunate to do Little John and Huntley. We'd like to move forward and get bids to replace the main toilet rooms at Jefferson Elementary that are original. And then there are some domestic water heater replacements at 3 of our buildings that we are beyond life expectancy, putting money into repairs, we need to get those replaced. And then the last that would be part of our operations and maintenance budget is a build out at Brooks, which would create an office space for the SRO in that building so that she is not in the far back of the building, she'd be more towards the front of the building. Those are all operations and maintenance budget expenditures that we're looking to bid out. Then we have a roof replacement at Brooks that we're recommending it's time for. We are again past life expectancy. And we, if we get this roof done, we only have a small portion at Huntley, and then all of our roofs will be caught up in the district, so that's very exciting. We've done a lot of work, thanks to the board's approval over the years of the last 10 years to get roofs replaced. That's life safety budget. That is a different funding, and there's special requirements for using that funding. So we'd like that from that. And then we do have some ESSER money that has been allocated for continued HVAC improvements for ESSER 3. That involves some improvements at Clinton Rosette and at Brooks. And then the last is out of the food service budget, and that would be for a new walk-in cooler freezer at Cortland, so that we have the opportunity to house more food at that building, because they do serve for their prepare and serve it to their students. We are we are transporting a lot of food from Huntley, that it has to be stored at Huntley and transported over to Cortland to be prepared, because we don't have a place to store it at Cortland. So that will alleviate that need and keep more of the food that's needed on site. So I believe those are all of them. And it is just informational at this time, and request to bring back for approval.
Consensus to bring this back?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, item G, DCHD, Hearing and Vision Service Agreement, Mr. Kyle Gertis. And this is an information item.
Good evening. For the last, from what I can tell, the last decade, we've partnered with the DeKalb County Health Department to help supplement our vision and hearing screenings. We have certified school nurses who are trained to do that. However, what we find is we need a little extra support, especially to ensure that we're doing it for all of our students that aren't. Especially for our students who aren't necessarily attending our schools in district every day, so our students that attend those outplacements. And so what we'd be looking to do is partner with the DeKalb County Health Department again. Their rate is $30 an hour for their services, and so what we project based on kind of the last several years of use is around a little over $6,000. Then move my laptops. $6,300, and that would be kind of our best kind of ceiling. It's possible we wouldn't spend that much money. Any questions?
No. Consensus to bring this back?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, and you're still up there. Item H, Instructional Assistance 1.0 FTE request, Jefferson, Mr. Kyle Gertis, and Ms. Deidre Salas.
And this is information in action.
Yeah, thank you. So we're coming forward as information in action to add one instructional assistant to Jefferson Elementary School. The need is due to a student of ours that we have identified as requiring some needs that go beyond what their current FTE allocation is going to need. And so it really allows us to basically be in compliance with the student services in their IEP. And the estimated cost for this would be between $35,200 and around $46,200, depending on the benefit package that the employee would choose. Any questions?
So you did say that due to the immediate need to fill the position, and of course due to timing, that it is recommended that we move it as information in action.
Correct, yep.
Are we
Any
going to
questions?
be able to fill that spot within time for the school year?
We will do everything we can to fill our openings, which we do have quite a few. But what I can tell you is that we have been through a lot of efforts, most recently a job fair we did in July, not January, as well as honestly, an increase in foot traffic since then. We've been able to fill a good number of our vacancies. We're also looking to prioritize our students that have the highest level of need as well, and this request would kind of fall into that bucket. So it gives us the ability to kind of reassign as needed if we still have a vacancy.
Any other questions? No? All right, it is recommended that the Board of Education approve the hire of one instructional assistant FTE for Jefferson Elementary. Due to the immediate need to fill this position, it is recommended that the Board of Education consider making this an information and action item. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
So move.
Second.
Second.
Okay, roll call please.
Andre Paul,
Yes.
Steve Byers,
Yes.
Ariel Owens,
Yes.
Christopher Boyes,
Yes.
Stacy Ramirez,
Yes,
Granta Bynum.
Yes.
thank you.
Thank you.
You're up there again for item I. CSES, site testing contract, Mr. Kyle Curtis. This is an information item.
So I've been up here quite a bit over the last few months talking about filling our one of our hard to fill positions, which is our school psychologist. I'm happy to say that we're in a much better position than we were at this point last year with this. However, we're still not fully staffed, and so we've been looking at where our identified needs are. And we would like to move forward with the Center for Special Education Services, or CSES, which is a company that we contracted with last year when we had a more significant shortages. And what this company does is they come in and they perform the role of a school psychologist, that is assessment of students to determine eligibility for special education, or what we call reevaluation, so continuing eligibility. Our needs this year are much less than they were last year, so what we've calculated based on kind of our projection of how many of either bilingual evaluations we did last year, or what we call kind of those early childhood or play-based evaluations, that we'd be looking at about 35 evaluations for the upcoming school year, 15 bilingual, and about 20 early childhood. The rate for that through this company is would come in at $89,500. However, it would allow us to, for example, we only have one bilingual school psychologist for the district. And so not only is she responsible for evaluating the students in her assigned building that are both bilingual and monolingual, she also is taking referrals for our other 11 schools in the district. That's not feasible for one person. So this will allow us to supplement that to kind of help keep that in balance. And then for our early childhood, the reason that's a little bit more expensive is those are team evaluations. So it's not necessarily just one psychologist coming in, but it's a psychologist, a speech path, sometimes a nurse, and they do that play-based evaluation as a group. So we're paying for more than just one clinician to come in and do that evaluation. And we would be the information item tonight, and then hopefully approval at our next meeting. Any questions?
Consensus to bring this back?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Alright. Ooh, superintendent update.
It's my turn, yay.
Appreciate the energy.
All right, so a couple of things. This is exciting time for me, right? So I just wanted to make sure that everybody knew what a great week we had last week. We had the ice cream social. We went out to a number of neighborhoods and we had a great turnout. I want to thank the school leaders from Portland and Malta who showed up to support us. We had a number of teachers actually show up as well. And then I had some cabinet staff that also supported us. We had a back to school bash on Saturday from 11 to 1 and we're at the Park District at the rec center. And it was amazing. We gave out tons of backpacks, tons of families were there. They were excited. We even did a couple of dance moves out there. So kids were joining us. It was a lot of fun. So definitely appreciate that. We had to cancel one of our ice cream social days because of the rain, and it was supposed to be the makeup day was yesterday, but it thundered and rained a lot yesterday. So tomorrow is the makeup day for the two days. So I welcome everybody to come out to the library tomorrow from 3:30 to 4. 3 to 3:30. Thank you. 3 to 3:30 at the library, and then we're moving over to the Liberty Park from 4 to 4:30. So I'm looking for folks to come out if you want. I always ask a couple of questions, and since school hasn't started yet, you know what my questions will be for those of you that have been around with me. So thank you, and I look forward to seeing you out there. Today, as Vice President Steve has mentioned, was our Staff Institute Day, and it was amazing. We had a good time. I commend Teaching and Learning for the great job they did, and all of the staff supported them, so thank you for that. There's a lot of rambling. I've never seen so many competitive people in my life. I got it on video, so if anybody wants to catch that, I'll make sure that we'll put it on the website. It was amazing, so thank you for that. Then, let's see, 3. Okay, I said that, so then let's go to 4. First day of school is Thursday for first grade through 12th grade, right? And there's half a day for students. So make sure you know what your half of the day looks like. right? So that's gonna be one of the questions tomorrow if you come out and see me, so I'm not giving away the answers. I will be, at the first day, I'm going to be at Clinton Rosette, for around 7:40-ish, to make sure we ring the bell at 7:45 for entry. If I get a chance, we're gonna be running in between to the high school to check in. If not, I'll come back to the high school. But then we'll be at Brooks for their entrance at 8:45 to ring the bell there. So far, I know that I have Chief Bird that will be joining me. Board member Chris is gonna be joining me. I understand Megan is joining me. Anybody else that's interested in joining me, that's where we'll be. Otherwise, if board members, if you're interested at being any of the schools, just let me know which school you'll be at, and I'll make sure that staff knows. So it's exciting time. First day of school is always my favorite, just the way that it excites me about new stuff, new clothes, everybody's all excited, everybody got fresh haircuts, you know, and everything, so exciting times. And then, so I'm making sure that we're wearing our Bob gear. I've outfitted the board members with their Bob gear, making sure that they're ready, because you know what, on August 25th is that game, the football game, and we wanna make sure that we come representing. DeKalb will be there against, those guys over there. So, you know, we're gonna win, and we're gonna be celebrating that, so make sure you're ready for that and wear your Barb gear. And then finally, something I don't do often, and I hope they know that I'm always very grateful. I can't do anything of what I do without the folks that are actually surrounding you, right? So that's the cabinet. So thank you, Tammy, thank you, Ben, thank you, Amana Quinette, thank you, Amir, thank you, Kyle, thank you, Sarah, thank you, Billy, thank you, Deetra. Thank you for everything that you do to make sure that we're doing great things for our schools. None of what I do or think about or dream of can ever happen. And then of course I have an extra special team that's my personal team that's headed up by my chief of staff over there, Jackie. And then I got JJ over here and Rita, who have also do amazing things in letting know that things are happening in the district. So I may not say it all the time, but you all have to know that I truly appreciate everything that you do. So I wanted to make sure I shouted them out, because I always forget somebody, right? And I don't mean to forget them, it's just, you know, when you're the closest to me, you're the ones that I don't see. But I thanked everybody else this morning, and I'm thanking you again, making sure that you know. Sebastian also does a great job over there, so thanks, Sebastian, for making us look good and sound good. So I think that's it. My excitement is dwindling because I'm getting hungry, my stomach is grumbling, and I'm ready to go have some dinner. So I'm gonna let that go. Thank you. All right, so I'm back over to you, Daisy.
All right, with that said, it is recommended that the Board of Education adjourn.
Second.
Consensus, aye, right?
All in favor?
All in favor?
Yeah.
Aye. Jackie, it's 8 o'clock, it's 8:15. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.